We come to the hour of our evening meditation. On July 15th, 1954, in the chapel on Sunrise Ranch. Tonight, I should like to share with you a moment of meditation in line with our class considerations of recent days. Where we have been drawing nearer to a focalization of responsive realization which would make possible a sharing in God's creative activity on a larger scale. We remember that the Master mentioned that if we believe on Him, we would do the works which He did and even greater works. We haven't reached the point where we need to be concerned about the greater works yet, because we haven't passed the first classification so far. But we have a goal and a deep abiding desire to serve our King and bring to fulfillment on earth that which He envisioned so long ago. And what were the works which He did? They were creative works. They were the expression of the divine on earth. We have seen that goal to some degree for a long time, or we wouldn't be here. But I wonder if we could tonight see it in a different light, a deeper, clearer vision. The words which we use sometimes have a familiar sound which suggests that we know their meaning and we hear them and translate them into already established concepts and ideas. And that which could have been conveyed is not. In order to move effectively in this field, we need to remember the sense of dedication which we have shared in time past. We need to remember so many things. Not trying to dig them up and specifically think about them, but letting them be our path. If the truth which you know, the truth which you have learned, is that which comes into vibratory play in your life in a moment such as this. Your past is not made up of all the experiences you have had, the disappointments, the limitations, the ill things which you have experienced in some way. For when we come into pattern in such an hour, if we let it be so, the past that has meaning is that which we have learned of truth and seen of beauty and realized in the companionship of divine love along the way of life. And to whatever degree we let that be the background of this moment, we find ourselves in the midst of a garden. In the midst of something. There is something of beauty in the future, just what we may not yet fully comprehend. There is something of the wonder of being in this present moment, which we now share, and there is the realization of the background of reality. There are two texts which I wish to bring to your thought in connection with this phase of meditation. First, the former things shall pass away. They shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. The former things shall pass away. Now, what are the former things? The things that existed for a little time in their distorted, disordered fashion, the things that did not belong, the things that were not of the divine design, or that may not be in this present moment even. The former things shall pass away. They shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. What do we remember of the former days? The things that come under this classification of the former things? What of the things of reality? Are they former things? No. For if those things which we experienced in the past, were of reality, the particular form of manifestation and experience may be past, but that is present in the now. It is something that is eternal. It is something that does not pass away. The things of God are not former things. They may have been made manifest in former days, but we have a contact with them now because they relate to God, to reality. The former things shall pass away. They shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. Here we recognize that there is a definite pattern wherein we may utilize deliberate processes of selectivity. We can determine on a deliberate basis the things which we have touched in the former days, which shall be established in consciousness as having immediate relationship to us. The former things shall pass away. So many people remember all the ill things, as we have noted before. They remember their sufferings, their miseries, their sorrows, and they go over them time after time. They remember the former things and maintain their meaning arbitrarily, deliberately, instead of letting the former things pass away, to the end that they may not be remembered nor come into mind. The other text which we would bring to focus in this hour is this. Remember the setting, considering the pattern of the New Jerusalem, which is to say the new spiritual consciousness, which comes down from God out of heaven into the earth. And concerning this level of consciousness, this state of being, it is written, "And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth or maketh a lie." Now a lie is a form of manifestation, a form that is built without having within it the substance or quality of truth. It may appear to be something for the moment, but it is hollow. Perhaps some of you have thought of this merely from the standpoint of a human being who deliberately speaks what we might classify as a lie. But the statement has to do with making a lie. Human beings may lie with their lips, but that is not the only way, because actions can lie, attitudes can lie. We can make all kinds of forms around us which are lies, which are not true expressions of our being, which do not contain within them the substance of truth. In actual fact, any idea which we may have, any pattern of action which we may have, which may be given forth, that is not a revelation of things that God has designed, is a lie. Human beings work to build these forms. They struggle and they try. In this morning's class, we recognize the fact that there is a wound. The service that I gave on February 25th last will, I believe, be our next mailing. And it deals with the process of movement from one womb to another. From womb unto womb. Now, I'm not going to undertake to recapitulate what is given there, but I wish to tie it in, because you will soon have it if you do not remember what was given at that time. But we do have this movement from womb unto womb, birth or rebirth. And we recognized that the ovum of your being, your heaven, your place of being is at hand. And it is up to you to fertilize or to activate that ovum of your heaven, as we were considering it this morning. It is something that you and you alone can do in your relationship with God. But if you try to do it without a relationship with God the Father, the ovum of heaven in the womb of Mother God will not be fertilized, and the form of your heaven will never go through the processes of gestation and be born into the realm of form. Human beings, realizing dimly or subconsciously that they have not been able to fertilize the ovum of heaven which relates to themselves on earth, have busily gone about trying to produce something like what they think that heaven would be. They develop ideas about what they want to become, what they want to get, what they would deem to be desirable and pleasing in the sense of environment. So, they substitute some sort of workshop for the ovum in the womb of Mother God. And then they go to work to build with their hands, the work of their hands, what they conceive to be this that is necessary in their lives. They're going to shape it, they're going to make it, they're going to mold it one way or another. Ambition, oh, such good ambition, such great desire. But there is reference made in the book to a temple not made with hands. And that can grow and become real only as we allow the ovum of your heaven to be the point of conception wherein you begin to have a part in the building of something not made with hands, the forming of heaven. There shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth or maketh a lie. Human beings are so inclined to have their minds centered on what they think defiles or makes a lie. And they are so identified with these distortion factors of being, whether in themselves or in another, that they think that means that they cannot get in. There shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth or maketh a lie. And they say, that means that I cannot get in. I am not pure enough. I need to grow some more. I need to do this and that. And then someday I'll be able to get into this wonderful state, whatever it may be. Let me tell you something. I'll let you in on a little secret. I do not care how many years you may spend, how much effort you may put forth, making yourself to be acceptable unto God. You cannot experience the true purification, the true cleansing, until you enter in. For it is in the process of entering in that whatever defileth or maketh a lie is left out. Human beings look at this statement and they say, oh, what a barrier. I don't know whether I'll ever make it. For there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth or maketh a lie. They think it shuts them out until some hereafter. But it doesn't. It's one of the most wonderful statements in the Bible. One of the most marvelous declarations with respect to opportunity in our lives right here and now. For if you stop saying, I cannot enter in, and remember, there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth or maketh a lie, and you enter in, you so respond and function that you can enter in, then whatever there is in you that defileth or tends to make a lie, and have you ever, any of you ever had that state to contend with? Should I ask those of you who have not to stand? No. But whatever there has been or is in you that tends to defile or make a lie will be squeezed out of you if you enter in, and you will not have to try to push it out, shove it out, pick it out of yourself, dig it out of yourself, fight against it, or any other such thing. For the statement is absolute. There shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth or maketh a lie. What about yourself now? I doubt if you are completely satisfied with yourself as you are, or you wouldn't be here tonight. But you say, if I apply what we have been considering recently, there begins to be a realization that the centering of your consciousness, the centering of your being, is not excluded from whatever it is we are to enter into. The ovum of heaven that is at hand, so that it can begin to take form, gestate, grow, and finally be born into the realm of form. If you wait until you are satisfied with yourself so that you can present yourself before the throne of God, when do you think you will get there? Just as I am, I come. Not waiting to change myself, not waiting until I know all the things that I think I ought to know, not waiting till all the questions I can think of have been answered, not waiting until this or that or the other thing, not waiting at all, just as I am, I come. The Lord does not ask you to wait. If you come before the gate of the palace, shall we say, and ask for admittance to come in before the throne of God, will the messenger there say, now here you have this shortcoming and that lack and the other thing. You go back out into the world now, and you change, you grow, you do this, you do that and the other thing. You fulfill these specifications, and when you come back, having accomplished all of this, we'll let you in. Now, God never says that to any man, woman, or child. Just as I am, I come. For until you stop trying to improve yourself so that you will be as you think worthy, you will never get there. It is your own idea of trying to improve yourself that keeps you out. Not the necessity of staying out, but the human idea of what you think you have to be. Now, there is the statement, and there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth or maketh a lie. That gives us hope. That gives us a basis of realizing that it is easy to let this process work out. For if we say, I come, dear Lord, just as I am, and we know that whatever there may be remaining that defileth or maketh a lie can't get in, and we say, I am going in, then the I am of yourself is not identified with what can't get in, but with what is already in or can go in, and you walk through the door. You accept the invitation, as it is put. Today is the day of salvation. Now is the accepted time. It's repeated in so many ways, over and over and over again. Now, not waiting till some future time to come in. And what happens? The very fact that you go in and you are not identified with what can't go in, you start in, and whatever can't go in is squeezed out or falls off or is somehow gone. Perhaps you don't even know how it went or when, but as you come in, it is just simply pushed away. Because it was not you, it never was you, it didn't belong to you, it didn't identify you, it didn't characterize you. For you, in the true sense, you belong to God. But not the things that have been hanging on to you that are not of God's design. They'll be cleansed away, purified, taken out of you. Of course, you must be willing to go, or to let them go. For if the moment you feel them being dislodged, you turn around and say, who's trying to pick my pocket? Here, I can't let go of that. Where is your response? To God, so that you'll be drawn on in, or to the thing that started to be squeezed out of you, like the removal of a blackhead or something, the core of a pimple or a boil. It was being squeezed out of you. Why not let it go? It's not you. If you think you must grab onto it, you become disturbed because it's being squeezed out. What happens? You withdraw your response from that which would draw you in and turn it to the thing that is being squeezed out of you. Now, in this process, there is going to be some pressure. I never suggested any of you would get through it without some pressure. Of course there'll be some pressure. What will you do under that pressure? To what will you respond? What will be your centering? If it is where it belongs. You feel something being squeezed out of you, something is being taken out of you, you're losing it, it's going. Are you going to turn around and say, wait a minute, I'd better examine that. I know, Lord, I can trust you, but I'd still like to know what you're taking out of me. Just refuse, that's all. Just refuse. A little cleansing of things that ought to have been left behind long ago, that do not belong to you. If you'll trust the Lord and keep your attention centered where it belongs, you'll be drawn into the ovum of your heaven at hand, And there, the cycle of gestation will begin. But it will not take form in a moment. And if you say, at the moment you get into your little ovum in heaven, your heaven, you say, oh, I thought, well, this isn't heaven. You know, I had heaven all pictured. I know what heaven's like. I know what... this certainly isn't heaven. Somebody's fooling me. And you wiggle back out again, so to speak, because you don't find heaven just the way you think you're going to find it or ought to find it. Already made, already finished, everything done. Your heaven will not take form until you share the forming of it, here or anywhere. You will never reach a ready-made heaven in this life or after what we call death. You will never reach a ready-made heaven where it is all finished and you don't have to do anything. So, the ovum of the heaven that is at hand will not immediately contain everything that you think your heaven should contain. It must go through the processes of gestation, growth, development, finally birth into form. But even when the babe is born, it is not the full-grown man or woman. It must still grow. For the moment the babe is born out of the womb of its mother, it is born into the womb of the home. And it gestates and grows for a while in the womb of the home. And then it is born out of that womb into the womb of the community, school, and all the other cycles of training, beginning about 6 years of age, more or less. And out of that womb into another. And out of that womb into another. We won't trace it all down and explain it now. But to be sure you have the idea. Now, that which is born out of any womb must be born into another womb where the next step in development takes place. For you were not born from your mother's womb 6 feet tall and fully formed in proportion. No, just a babe, and you had to grow, growing in the womb of home, school, community, and so on. And finally, you reach physical maturity. But that leaves you with other maturities to be attained. And if it's not taken care of correctly in the right womb, you'll never become a full-grown or mature man or woman. Now, in the womb of your heaven, in the womb of Mother God, there is your heaven, which must be fertilized by your presence in it. Not outside of it, in it. And when you've entered into the ovum of your heaven that is at hand, in that moment, you have entered in. And if you look around, so to speak, and say, this surely isn't heaven. I thought I was going to enter in. I thought it was going to be this way and that way and the other way. This can't be that wonderful something. and the individual starts rejecting it and looking for some other place to go to? No. Having entered in, you abide and you let it grow. You let it take form. You let it be born. And in its birth, it is the expression of your being. For just as there is a God being that is the centering of your identity in truth, in relationship to your physical body, you are the God being in the body of your heaven that surrounds you, for it is the expression of your being. You, God being and human being, in oneness become the father of the body of your heaven. And it is the realm of the expression of your being in relationship to your sharing in the creative processes by which something may become. Now, it is very simple, isn't it? Your body, as a human being, is a place wherein your God being has focalization or dwells. But the place that is to surround you is to be your body of being, which we call heaven. And you, in oneness with your God being, are the Father within that body. That body which we call heaven. The realm of the true expression of your being. For wherever God is, there heaven is. Whether heaven has as yet taken full form or not. We are not looking for an already formed heaven, all complete, where we can settle back in a nice golden chair and say, this is it. I never have to do another thing. I've arrived in heaven. For such a state would soon prove to be hell. How long would you like to have an opportunity to not do anything? Is anyone here who would like to volunteer to not do anything for a week? Any of you here? You just don't want to do anything. If anyone wants to volunteer, I'll put you to the test. We'll even feed you. And if you can stick it out for a week without going crazy, you couldn't, you know. Not to do anything. You've got to be doing something if you're conscious. People say, well, I haven't been doing anything. Actually, they have, you know. They weren't speaking the truth. It may relatively have been accurate, but in actual fact, it wasn't the truth. If you didn't have to do anything, you didn't have to think, you didn't have to work out any problem, you didn't have to face any challenge, you didn't have any responsibility, everything was all done for you already, how soon would it be hell? Any heaven into which we enter is one in which we must share the responsibility of making it as form, giving it form, here or anywhere. So, there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth or maketh a lie. There is your great opportunity. For all you have to do is go ahead and enter into it and anything that defileth or maketh a lie will be squeezed out of you on the way in. And it's just that simple and easy. You won't have to do it yourself. You'll leave it behind. You leave behind a certain amount of refuse each day. Normally it doesn't cause you any pain as it goes. And you don't remember it, you've forgotten it, you're glad to be rid of it. That refuse that we should leave behind at any point along the way should be looked upon just the same way. Let it go. And you'll feel so much cleaner, so much lighter, so much more alive and vital and meaningful. There shall in no wise enter into the ovum of your heaven that is at hand anything that defileth or maketh a lie. But that ovum of your heaven at hand cannot be fertilized until you enter into it. And no one else on the face of the earth can fertilize it. No one else on the face of the earth can enter into it. You, and you alone. Or we might say in relationship to it, that you are the sperm from Father God, designated to fertilize that ovum in the body of Mother God. You and you alone can do it. And if you do not, it will not be done. No one else can do it for you. No one, here or anywhere. Only you. And the former things shall pass away. They shall not be remembered nor come into mind. And when we begin to move into heaven at hand, we will not imagine that it should be this way or that way or some other way. But having entered into it, we share with God the work of giving it forth, letting it gestate, and develop and grow until it shall appear. And when it appears, that is, when it is born, do you think that the job will be done then? I don't. Because the minute your heaven is born out of one womb, it will be born into another. And you will have something else to do. Another cycle to go through. And just as the body grows in the womb of the mother through cellular division, cell after cell, cell after cell, each cell works out from the same principle. There will be another cycle, another womb, from womb unto womb, even in heaven. Never a point where you cease creating. Never a point where you reach the absolute limit of that which can be done in relationship to your point in creation. No point of stagnation. No point of crystallization. No point where it is finished and done. For that which is finished and done must be buried. It doesn't belong to heaven. And if you are identified with that which is of God, the centering of being, and not with the things that must be done and must be acted upon, you'll find it is very easy. And you'll begin to realize that God does not require of you that which you have been trying to require of yourself. You have been setting something for yourself which God did not establish. You think you have to be something, do something, accomplish something in such and such a way. You say, well, I don't think I've been doing that. All right, those of you who think you haven't, I won't do it in public. Come around sometime and I'll convince you how wrong you are. God does not require of you all of the impossible things that you've been trying to require of yourself. You have made the way hard, not God. He has prepared an easy way. And those who think that the true spiritual or Christian life is a hard life don't know what they're talking about. I've had people here on Sunrise Ranch, in fact, some back along the line who are within the sound of my voice now, who have come right out and flatly contradicted me to my face and said they didn't believe it. They think it's hard. And they're going to think it's hard. So hard. All right, it will be as long as you think it's that way, so go and stew in your own juice and see if I care. It isn't hard. Don't contradict me with your lips or in your heart or in your mind. Listen to the truth. God does not require of you that which you have been attempting to require of yourself, which made it seem hard. God didn't make it difficult. It's easy. And all the things that you think beset you, that you have to work out, and the things that keep you from entering in or being what you want to be. I have this problem, I have that problem. You don't have to have all the problems solved or know all that there is to be known or have all your questions answered or any one of all these other things. It's so easy. It's so easy. It really is. If you will let it be. And then cycles begin to work. The law works. The automatic processes develop as we considered them this morning. And the whole thing unfolds. And you do not expect heaven to be a finished product when you arrive. As long as you expect heaven to be a finished product when you arrive, you will imagine that you must be a finished product in order to enter into heaven. But you cannot become a finished product except in heaven, and you will be a finished product only when you are born out of one womb, and you'll land immediately in another, and you won't be a finished product. Take it easy. Let it work. And stop trying to dictate to God how it shall be in you. Human beings have their reservations. It's going to be like this. I require this, and that, and the other thing. If it's not this way, I don't want it. I've heard people say, well, if when I get to heaven, I don't find my dear dead mother there just like I knew her, I don't want to go to heaven. If she isn't there, I'll go to... And this wonderfully considerate son or daughter wants mother to be there, her little weazened self sitting in an armchair, rocking with a shawl over her shoulders, with all of her limitations. No, she won't be there like that anymore. Human beings always establishing what they expect to find in heaven. And if they can't see that they're going to get what they think they want there, they'll go to, and they do. Concepts of all sorts, barring the way. And it's so easy. And it's now. You don't have to keep growing for another week, or 6 months, or a year, or 2 or 3 years. Of course, you can postpone it for a while, and maybe get in a little later. You think you're going to gain anything by staying out, but when you're out, you're not in, and what is not in is hell, because you're not where you ought to be. You can try to make it nice and comfortable and pleasing to yourself, and yet it won't be. It won't be. You cannot produce a substitute for heaven that will satisfy you. Perhaps you ought to remember that. Try as you may, you cannot produce a substitute for heaven that will satisfy yourself. It cannot be done. So, we might as well enter in. We may as well do it now. If you just can't be expected to do it tonight, tomorrow, of course. And tomorrow you can say tomorrow. Each day tomorrow. And how the tomorrows pass. When will it be? God is ready. He has everything ready for you. He invites you to come just as you are. And I suggest you meditate on that and stop requiring of yourself what you think God is going to require of you before you enter in. For what is entering in but movement into the ocean of your heaven at hand, where you can begin to share in the development of what is to be. But if you think to carry in the genes that would bring about congenital deformities in heaven, you're wrong. You can't do it. You say, well, then I'm not ready yet because I'm sure I wouldn't fertilize that egg just right. Just go on in, and what doesn't belong will be left outside. It won't get in. There shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth or maketh alive. So let it be, now and forever.